Hello and welcome. Today we're exploring HRT and whether you'd be a prime candidate for HRT being beneficial for managing your hormone-related symptoms. So you may be experiencing interrupted sleep or insomnia, low energy, night sweats, classic symptom, loss of muscle, weight gain or accidental weight gain. You may have dry skin, sore muscles, have a complete lack of motivation and get up and go. Hello, Mandy. Hey, Rachel. You may have a prolapse or a worsening prolapse. Generally feeling like you've got low energy and struggling with dry skin. Now, of course, these are the symptoms that I see a lot with my clients, and also with bloating and IBS and constipation. And all of these can be a sign that your hormones, your sex hormones, are quite low. And of course, over the age of 40, we have a fluctuation in the estrogen and the progesterone. We may still have quite high testosterone, but what we find is that with the fluctuations of those sex hormones, the adrenals and the thyroid takes over. And if we've been running on empty for quite some time and really pushing the limits and feeling that we're high stress, then we can be feeling really, really tired, really depleted, and we can have those hormone imbalance symptoms that can cause us a lot of stress and a lot of strain. So what I do particularly with my clients is, firstly, I would test the hormones, and I use a test called the Dutch test. And what the Dutch test has nothing to do with being Dutch. It is a dried urine saliva analysis, and we do that over the course of a typical day, and that will help us determine what levels of sex hormones, stress hormones, what your neurotransmitters and that sort of thing are doing. So it's interesting when we see the Dutch test results, we see what those sex hormones are doing and whether they are, the perimenopausal or the postmenopausal or menopausal range, which is really, really low. But we also see how well we're metabolizing those hormones. All right, so we've got to make these hormones, and the sex hormones are used to help with fertility, but estrogen and progesterone also have a massive part to play in cardiovascular health, muscle integrity, cognitive function, brain function, that sort of thing. So that's why when we're low in estrogen and progesterone, we can be feeling more anxious, we can be sleeping, we have interrupted sleep, and we can be feeling tired all the time but quite wired, and we can be feeling lethargic or really demotivated. So what the Dutch test shows us is how much of those hormones we still have in our body, how much are freely available in the body, but how well we also metabolize them, which is gives us an indication of what the liver is doing, because the liver plays a very important part in your hormones. Now, 75% of women will struggle with some sort of menopausal symptoms, like that discomfort that I've explained. And, some of my clients who go on HRT experience massive benefits, really massive benefits, like their insomnia is gone, they feel much calmer, their metabolism improves, they don't feel as anxious, they don't struggle with vaginal dryness as much, their libido may improve, they really experience great benefits with joint pain and skin elasticity, and they feel stronger. So what estrogen and progesterone does, other than support the sex hormones, support fertility, is to support cardiovascular health, to support muscle integrity, and to support that cognitive function. So Dr. Louise Newson in the UK is the menopause doctor, and she is a great person to follow. She has a fantastic website. I will put the link into the comments. But she has a great amount of resources, and she will help you possibly make the decision whether HRT is good for you. She also lists very clearly the side effects. And look, HRT has come a long, long way since 20, 30 years ago, where it was getting a lot of bad publicity because it was being linked to estrogen-related breast cancers. Now, the body identical HRT that is available on the NHS, particularly in the UK, has come a long, long way. It is now predominantly a plant-based ingredient, so it's based on wild yams, and it can be very easily absorbed in the body in the form of patches or gels or creams or sprays. So there's a lot of different types of HRT that are available now that could be very beneficial for you. But I would recommend that you do a Dutch test first, because that helps you to know exactly what your hormones are doing. Now, this is a private test. It is provided by private functional medicine nutritionists like myself. And that test is not available on the NHS, but it is worthwhile to see what your hormones are doing and how well you're metabolizing them and how well you're methylating them. So how well you're using them up and how well you're able to get them out of the body. Because if you were having quite a sluggish liver and you weren't metabolizing your hormones well, means they sort of get stuck in the liver and then they get reabsorbed into fat tissue, then maybe going on HRT would not be the best course of action for you, and you may be better off focusing on lifestyle and dietary changes, because there's a lot that you can do with your lifestyle. You can really focus on sleep. You can focus on making sure you're getting adequate protein and fat at every meal. You can make sure that you have stress management techniques in your life. You could alleviate, or you could reduce alcohol and caffeine for a period of 3 months. Could make a massive difference to your symptoms. You could make sure that you are prioritizing your own self-care and your own exercise, which, making sure that you are doing exercise that doesn't stress the body. So high intensity workout may not be your best friend at the moment, but if you did something like Tai Chi or yoga or Pilates 3 times a week, that can help manage your symptoms. Now, in terms of nutrition, there is a lot of things that you can do to support your natural estrogen and your progesterone. Having foods like your broccoli, your cruciferous vegetables can be very good. Your beans, if they've been soaked first, nuts, if they've been soaked first, can be very, very good for managing your natural phytoestrogens. Also, using soy, fermented soy, tempeh, tofu can be very, very good. Seeds, seed cycling, using linseeds regularly can be really helpful. So there is a lot that you can do. Also, in terms of nutrition, the Mediterranean diet can be very beneficial for women. That you're having, 3 to 4 portions of oily fish a week, lots of polyphenol-rich foods, olive oil, olives can be really good. So there is a lot that you can do. Mandy, you've been on bioidentical hormones since 2010. Yes, you can pay a compounding pharmacy to have bioidentical, which is very bespoke to you. But there's also the body identical HRT, which is available on the NHS. And you can now get 1 year prescription on the NHS, so you don't have to keep going back to your doctor. So I think it is really worthwhile speaking to someone like me if you wanted to get tested, because there is a lot that you can do in terms of diet and lifestyle. Look, I've even used very successfully with some clients who cannot have HRT or are choosing not to go down the HRT route, to use essential oils, particularly for insomnia and for night sweats or day sweats, the hot flushes, like a beautiful blend that includes clary sage, peppermint, frankincense, and lavender. Using that on the soles of your feet and up the back of your spine and on your pulse points, like your wrists and your elbows and under your earlobe, can be really very beneficial. But with all of these things, consistency is key, and that's where I come in to help keep you accountable to making those changes, because sometimes you need a little bit of hand-holding to make those changes. If you're trying to eliminate alcohol, trying to reduce your caffeine, trying to change your exercise regime, making sure you're drinking plenty of water, making sure you're nourishing your body really well, all of those changes will help support your hormones. Because sometimes if there's an imbalance in the liver, for example, then you're not going to metabolize your hormones very easily. So, I think if you were going to consider taking HRT, The earlier you start taking it, the better. So as soon as you are in the perimenopause, you are going to have significant benefits for cognitive function, for your cardiovascular health, and for your muscle and your bone density can be very beneficial the earlier you start to take it. You don't want to be waiting until after your menopause and then introduce HRT, because you'll miss out on those benefits prior to. So make sure that you are focusing on sleeping well, prioritizing your self-care, supporting your detox pathway, so supporting the liver, giving your liver a rest from processed foods, refined sugar, alcohol, and caffeine can certainly work. So I would love to hear from you if you have been on HRT. Have you experienced a benefit from taking HRT? I have had one client who was starting to have very dark thoughts after taking HRT, and she stopped and she found that the HRT was giving her dark thoughts. So, it can work really well for some people where they, the progesterone particularly can really help with sleep, help you feeling calm, help you feel less overwhelmed and less anxious. That can be life-changing, having that get up and go, that energy, that motivation to continue living a busy life. But don't underestimate the lifestyle changes that you may have to make. Reducing your stress, reducing your burden, your overwhelm, like trying not to be all things to all people. We need to focus on supporting our own energy and maybe going deeper with our self-care, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of journaling, a little bit of daily walking, daily meditation. All of those things can very much help your hormones. So don't underestimate the importance of those as well. So thank you so much for watching. I am in Sydney today, and the weather is a little bit cloudy and a little bit rainy, which I was a bit surprised to see. But I'd love to hear from you. Are you on HRT? Have you experienced any benefits? And if you want to know more about the Dutch test, the dried urine analysis that gives us a really good overview of all of your hormones, particularly your cortisol, your stress hormones, your neurotransmitters, whether you're deficient in B12 and vitamin D, glutathione, all the liver supportive supplements, and how well you're metabolizing your hormones, and where you are in your journey, whether you're perimenopausal or you're postmenopausal, what your hormones are doing. Even your testosterone, testosterone is such an important hormone for that feeling of get up and go, that motivation, that strength and resilience that you may have had in your youth. Maybe you're really low in testosterone. And, I think the NHS prescribing HRT without having a Dutch test done prior to, I think I would like to know, really. I'm curious. I'd like to know about what my hormones are doing. So I've had my Dutch test done, and it's a fascinating amount of information. So if you'd like to get a Dutch test done, it is an investment. It's a private laboratory investment. So there is a cost. It's £350 just for the lab work. And then I will do an interpretation. I'll make my recommendations in terms of lifestyle, nutrition, diet, and supplements that can support you if you want to go down the complete natural route, or if you think about, if you're thinking about HRT. And even if you've been on HRT for a while, it's really quite good to check in and see how well you're metabolizing that and what the benefits are for you. All right. So, look, HRT can certainly help with reducing the risk of bone fractures. It can reduce the risk of stroke. It can reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. It can also, there's been a bit of study around the benefits in terms of dementia. So, there's lots of benefits. There can be some side effects, but I do find that the majority of my clients say that the benefits far outweigh the side effects or the risk of side effects. Not everybody is going to experience risks because, HRT, the body identical HRT, is now derived from plants, mostly from yams. So, there's very little risk associated with that. If you've got questions about HRT and you're considering it, then reach out to me, pop your question below. I will put a link to Dr. Louise Newson's website. It's very informative. And, if you want help making up your own mind, or if you'd like to get a Dutch test, then please let me know. And lots of love from Sydney, not quite sunny Sydney, but I'll be heading back up north tomorrow where the sun is shining, the dolphins are jumping, and the weather is divine, the water is divine. All right, and if you've got any questions, reach out, let me know. Have a lovely day or evening.